What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Tibosaurus Rex, and Alex Wilson is here too. Today, we're talking about the New York Giants going into this Week 10 matchup in Germany versus the Carolina Panthers. Daniel Jones versus Bryce Young, the quarterback matchup of the century. No, probably not being billed that way. However, it kind of is the quarterback matchup of the century, or at least of the year, because there's a different quarterback that the Giants may be playing for or playing their way out of, depending on the results of this game. This is a game that has serious implications on the 2025 NFL draft order. And guys, I'm sorry that we're even talking about this. I'm sad that we're even talking about this. This sucks. It's November 8th and we're looking ahead to April. That pains me. It absolutely does. However, we got to do our due diligence on this channel. We promised you guys that throughout the season, whether the Giants were winning or losing, we would be looking ahead to the draft class to keep you all informed on who might just be available and who the top targets might be for the New York Giants when the NFL draft rolls around. And again, bringing this point to the forefront, the Giants are probably going to be looking for a quarterback in next year's draft in the first round. However, they have a lot of competition for a quarterback, Alex. A lot of it. And one of the teams that they could be competing with, Bryce Young's Carolina Panthers, because Bryce Young might be on his way out this offseason. Now, the Panthers did choose not to trade him away. They were very clear that they didn't want to trade him at the deadline. However, if they stumble into a top 3 pick next offseason, who knows? Maybe they change their mind. Maybe they go for a new quarterback. And that's why this game could be a lot like last year's matchup with the New England Patriots. The Giants ended up beating the Patriots last year and ultimately ended up losing in draft positioning to the Patriots because of that game. As a result, Drake May is a New England Patriot, and Malik Nabers is a New York Giant. And we're very happy to have Malik Nabers, but the battle for a quarterback technically happens now. It starts now. Week 10, Giants versus Panthers. It's going to have very serious implications on the 2025 NFL Draft. So in this episode, Tibosaurus and I, and again, Alex is here too, we're going to go ahead and discuss the implications on the draft order, discuss the quarterback position for the Giants, and talk about why one quarterback has piqued our interest. You guys already know who it is. I'm twerking for Cam. I'm crashing out for Cam Ward. I'm ready for Cam to be a New York Giant. Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? When you're looking ahead to this game, though, and you're looking ahead to April and the draft implications, I know you agree with me. This could be the game similar to last year's Patriots game.
I mean, do I really have to remind everyone what happened last year? You know, you beat Washington, you beat the Patriots, and we don't end up with Jaden Daniels. Do I put that thing away? We need to lose this game, Anthony, not win. Tibosaurus Rex is a catalyst for victory, my good friend. But I'm not going to root for losing, but we can all acknowledge that it's in the best interest of the Giants to lose because we need a quarterback so badly. I'm not going to sit here and rag on Daniel Jones. I'm done with it. Dead horse. He might not even be starting after the bye week if they lose this. Even if they win this game, he might not be starting after the bye week. That's how dead the Giants are in the season. They ended up keeping Darius Slade and Azeez Ojulari at the deadline. They're going to walk for nothing. We're going to talk about it a couple months from now. It's going to be same old with the Giants. Business as usual. They don't trade players. They suck anyway. They don't get draft capital, and the cycle continues. But the truth is that this game has massive implications on whether the Giants are in a position to get a player like Cam Ward. Now, right now, they have the 7th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. They are behind the Patriots, the Jaguars, the Saints, the Panthers, Browns, and the Raiders. Now, New England already has their quarterback, so if they're picking number 1, the Giants will be able to move up and get their guy. The Jacksonville Jaguars have their quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. They paid him big money, so I don't think they're moving off him either. The Saints could be problematic because it seems like they're finally down to, actually get out of their hellhole of a salary cap situation. So getting a rookie quarterback and getting rid of Derek Carr does make financial sense for them. So I wouldn't rule the Saints out as potentially making a move there. Panthers, I mean, if Bryce Young beats the brakes off Daniel Jones on Sunday morning, maybe they do fully commit to him again. Maybe they do give him another year to figure it out and they don't draft a quarterback. Maybe they get him a receiver like a McMillan. Maybe that is something they end up doing. We'll see. Obviously, they're kind of a toss-up. The Browns, I think they've kind of acknowledged that Deshaun Watson is cooked. I mean, not only is he undergoing Achilles surgery, but he was horrible. And he does other things that are very unlikable in society. So I don't think that he's a long-term solution for the Browns. And then, of course, the Raiders need a quarterback desperately. So the Giants have multiple teams ahead of them that are in a position to draft a passer. They need to get Cam Ward, though. Let's be honest here, guys. Nussmeier, he's not ready. Shedeur Sanders, I don't think he's ready. I don't even think he's close to being an NFL quarterback. Personally, this is how I personally feel. I don't watch him play and say this guy's gonna be a starter in the NFL day one, and I don't think he's gonna survive the New York media market. You guys remember seeing the color codings of players on the Giants draft board. Specific players have specific color schemes, and I think they're gonna have a concerning color on him this upcoming year. Because I just don't think that he takes the blame. A lot of times he sheds the blame. Maybe they don't care about that. Maybe they do think he's that good of a player, and they take him and they hope to God that he doesn't, kind of backfire in that regard. But hopefully, those things can be put to bed, and they can just evaluate him as a prospect, and he's good the rest of the season, doesn't say anything that puts him in some trouble. That's what we're all hoping for. We just want to evaluate the prospects as players, and hope to God they have great character too, because that's just an added benefit. So when it comes to Cam Ward, though, he's been pretty good in terms of his character. He has not said anything that has alienated him. But most of all, the guy's production is off the charts right now. He is firmly in position to be a leading contender for the Heisman Trophy. So, this season alone, 67.1% completion rate, 216 completions, 29 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's coming off a 400-yard game and 5 touchdown performance against Duke. But most importantly, Anthony, when we talk about Daniel Jones, we talk about his deep passing and lack thereof. Cam Ward is a electrifying passer when it comes to throwing the ball downfield. This season, he has a 93.7 passing grade according to PFF. That's actually the best of any portion of the field. He has a 16.8% attempt rate on these types of passes, almost a 50% completion rate on 20-plus yard passes, 873 yards, and Anthony, you're going to love this, 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. If you want to have an explosive offense, Cam Ward is going to lead you to that promised land. Even more impressive, what is it? Let me see here. It's a 4.9% turnover-worthy play percentage. On passes that deep, that is excellent. I think Daniel Jones is 8%, 9% even. It's not good. So a 5% turnover-worthy play rate on throws 20-plus yards downfield when you're throwing into coverage is really solid. So I do think that right now, if you are the Giants looking to, reinforce the offensive line, you can allocate. Now you have a rookie quarterback. You can allocate money towards the offensive line, getting a swing tackle, maybe upgrading right guard, and then getting a receiver. Maybe you take a receiver in the second round. And second round, and Anthony, you're the biggest proponent of receivers in the second round. That's where you find the value. You can have a young core of Wandale, Malik Neighbors, a young second-round receiver if they find one they really like. I do love his buddy Restrepo from Miami. He's probably more of a mid-round pick, but the chemistry those two guys have is excellent. I'd even spend a mid-round pick on maybe a 4th or a 5th on him just to add someone familiar from his offense. And he's a security blanket. I think that chemistry would really help him as a rookie. And then obviously reinforcing the offensive line, having a much better unit. Retaining Carmen Brasillo. You position yourself to usher in a young quarterback like Cam Ward with a lot of young talent. We love Tyrone Tracy. I think Theo Johnson improves. You have a rookie contract where you're able to exercise that financially in free agency moving forward. And this game in Germany determines whether the Giants have to give up future draft capital or just sit and take him. You know what I mean? Like, that's what this game really represents for the Giants, Anthony. Do they have to give up their first-round pick in 2026 to get Cam Ward, or do they just have to sit there and take him? You know what I mean? Like, that's what this game means to the Giants. And I think that, as a fan perspective, I don't want to lose, but it is like painfully obvious it's in the best interest of this team to lose. They're not going to try to lose. They're going to play. They're going to fight. They're going to try to win. But losing in the best interest of this team, they're never going to. Obviously, I'm not of the tanking mindset, but I think you'd be an absolute moron to sit here and acknowledge the fact that this team is not better off losing this game. I think that's just the truth. That's unfortunately the unadulterated truth. But Anthony, looking at this situation right now, the importance of landing Cam Ward specifically, he's the only guy I'm interested in this draft class at the quarterback position that can step in as a rookie and play within that season. I think Nussmeier he should stay another year in college. Personally, that's how I feel. I think Sanders, I'm not a huge fan of him. I don't think he's got everything I'm looking for. I think that he's very, very limited with his mobility. And I know a lot of people like Jackson Dart, but they're just not. Like, these guys are QB 7, 8s in last year's draft class. Like, Cam Ward might be QB 3, 4. Like, he's the best you're going to get. And the Giants need the best they can get, not taking swings at guys that probably need a lot of time to develop.
I don't disagree with you completely. I'm going to say a couple points on this in terms of Cam Ward being the guy to step in next year. I do agree with you on that point. Out of all of the quarterbacks in this year's draft class, the one who I would bank on having immediate success would be Cam Ward. I don't think I'm as cold on Shadur Sanders as you are. I think the kid is incredibly talented. I don't need a mobile quarterback. I like a quarterback that can read a field and throw the ball downfield. He throws with anticipation, and he has a rocket arm, and he plays like he's fearless. And I think those are the more important traits than the mobility. Now, obviously, like you've mentioned, there are question marks about his character and his leadership qualities. That's not up to me to decide. That is up to Brian Dable to decide when they interview him at the Combine. So we'll see whether or not that becomes a factor when we get into the February, March, April cycle of the draft. And then with Jalen Milroe, that's another name who you didn't touch on a ton. I also do like Jalen Milroe. This is his second season as a starter. I think he's shown a lot as a rusher and as a passer, and he feels like a player who's a great project. And that is also the label that I would apply to Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier might be the best project in this draft class if he does declare. But as you mentioned, there's a very good chance that he does not declare because he could be QB somewhere from 2 to 5 in this draft class if he declares. And if he declares the following year and Arch Manning doesn't, he's probably staring down the barrel of QB1, number 1 overall pick. So it would make more sense for Garrett Nussmeier to stay at LSU. Now, he could just try and be a one and done. One amazing year as a starter, go to the NFL. Somebody else recently did that from LSU, Joe Burrow. And look at what Joe Burrow did last night. We all know how good of a quarterback Joe Burrow is. But Joe Burrow is a little bit of an enigma. You know, him, Josh Allen, these guys are the anomalies. It's very rare that you see a quarterback come in here and just immediately have success or one season of success and then go into the NFL and explode onto the scene. Very rare. You can't necessarily expect that to happen with a guy like Garrett Nussmeier. But if you're looking at tools, traits, throwing with anticipation, throwing with accuracy and arm strength, Garrett Nussmeier checks every single box for a Brian Dable offense. He would be an absolute dream pairing with Dable. However, he needs time. And the Giants are running out of time. Objectively, Brian Dable is running out of time. This is his third season as a head coach, and it's not going as planned. Next season would be his fourth season as the head coach. Can he waste another year of losing just to get to season 5 and then start his rookie quarterback and hope to win games? No, he's going to be on the hot seat next year before the season even starts. His seat is already going to be warming up because he needs to win games in his fourth season as the head coach of the New York Giants. So for that reason, even if the Giants signed a solid bridge quarterback and they drafted Garrett Nussmeier in the second round, the entire year, fans would be pushing, put the rookie in, we're losing games, just put the rookie in. Eventually he might cave, he might put that rookie in, rookie's confidence gets shattered, and then you're just derailing the development of a young rookie quarterback who had a lot of talent. So Garrett Nussmeier, probably not the best fit for a New York Giants team that doesn't need to win in 2 years, needs to win in 2025. Win immediately. And here's why, Alex, we're wrapping back around to the original point of Cam Ward being that one and only quarterback. I will tell you the one trait that he has over every other quarterback in this draft class. Do you know what it is? Experience. That's it. It's very simple, but it's the biggest difference maker. What did Jaden Daniels have over every other quarterback in this draft class, Alex? Experience. He started at Arizona State, then he went and started at LSU, beat the competition at Arizona State, beat the competition again, greater competition in the SEC at LSU, won the Heisman, and then became an immediate instant impact elite quarterback in the NFL as a rookie. Cam Ward has done something similar. He beat up on competition at Washington State for 2 years, then transferred to Miami, beating up on the competition. Now, if he can go into the college football playoffs and prove that he can play against the top dogs in the country, that would do a lot for him. But it's the 2 years starting at Washington State that tell me, of all these quarterbacks, Cam Ward has the best chance to make a day one impact. I don't think enough fans realize the importance of having that extra season under your belt. You're talking about Cam Ward, a guy who has had 25 games starting at Washington State before this breakout season at Miami. And he was good at Washington State, Alex. He threw for over 3,200 yards both seasons. He had 23 touchdowns and 25 touchdowns respectively in 2022 and 23. And now in 2024, he leads the ACC with 3,146 yards and leads the country with 29 passing touchdowns in 9 games. But that is the difference. You see the year-to-year progression and then the major jump in his third season after transferring. Had he declared last year, Cam Ward would have been QB7 maybe QB 5, 6, 7 in last year's draft class, in the 2024 draft class, and then ultimately picked in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round because quarterbacks dropped after the first round. Spencer Rattler didn't go till round 5. Cam Ward goes back to college, ends up putting in all of this work. Now he's got 3 years of starting experience under his belt. That is why his skill set would translate the most directly into the NFL. It's basically, call it the Jaden Daniels formula. That's what you can call it. Jaden Daniels, all that time that he spent during his collegiate career at Arizona State, just getting better, just making progress year to year. If you look at Jaden Daniels' stats, he had how many games started? He had 55 total games started in college before he went on to the NFL. Now, he was a primary starter for 1 season at Arizona State, then took a step back, then another season at Arizona State, then 2 more seasons at LSU. He had 4 seasons as a starter. The only player that comes close to 4 full seasons as a starter in this year's draft class is Cam Ward, and he's going to have 3 full seasons as a starter. All those other guys, 1 season or 2 seasons. That tells you they're young, they're inexperienced, and they need development. The Giants, unfortunately, like I said, do not have any time to waste. They need to get a quarterback in here who can win immediately. Now, that doesn't mean that Cam Ward has to be an absolute MVP Jaden Daniels level superstar as a rookie, but he needs to be a serviceable starter as a rookie who has upside to continue to grow. And I would love for the Giants to even sign a bridge quarterback and sit Cam Ward for the first 8 weeks or so of the season. Only play him when he's ready. But the thing is, he's going to be ready much sooner than these other quarterbacks just because he has way more snaps at the collegiate level under his belt. So I'm with you, Alex. I think that is absolutely the number 1 prospect that the Giants need to find a way to draft. Whether they trade up for him or not, whether they lose this game or win this game, they still need to find a way to get Cam Ward, in my opinion. But if they win this game, getting him is going to be harder. That's pretty much the main topic of this episode. Because the trend that I'm noticing here, Alex, of the starts under his belt compared to Jaden Daniels and these other quarterbacks, how many starts and how much experience he had, if I can read that stat and that trend and notice that that's going to be the translatable trait that lets him have success as a rookie, NFL teams can read that stat too. They could see that translatable trait. And that's why teams, they're going to clamor for Cam Ward's experience. It's not just about the raw talent, the arm strength, the mobility, the decision making. The experience is what has allowed Jaden Daniels to be an MVP level candidate as a rookie, and it's what will allow Cam Ward to be the most attractive quarterback option in April and most likely have the most immediate success in the 2025 season. So for a New York Giants team with a quarterback on the hot, or a head coach rather, on the hot seat who needs to buy wins in the 4th season of his tenure with the Giants, they need to get this quarterback who has experience and can start showing progress and flashes of potential for the future from day 1. And that only quarterback in this draft class who can do that is Cam Ward.
I mean, there's a lot of other things that I love about Cam Ward in addition to just his experience. And the one thing I've really enjoyed watching from him is that, similar to against Duke, dude, they were down. Like, they were down multiple scores at multiple times throughout the season so far. And he has come back and won every game. You know what I mean? Like, every time that team was down, he has walked back on that football field and drove them down the field for touchdowns. When they were down in the 4th quarter, after he threw an interception in the red zone, he walked them down that field and scored a touchdown. Like, this dude has the clutch gene. You know what I mean? Like, some quarterbacks, like, you watch quarterbacks that have that ability. Eli Manning had that ability where, like, he would lose games and be like, all right, you know what? It is, but when it mattered the most, and when the Giants were down a score and they were in the 4th quarter and they needed it, it was do or die. You wanted Eli Manning in there over anyone not named Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Like, that was the guy you wanted. He was a finisher. Daniel Jones is not a finisher. We know this already. 6 years of evidence to prove that he cannot finish games. Cam Ward is a finisher. It is part of his makeup. It is part of his character. You watch him. He loves the challenge. He is not afraid of the moment. He's not afraid of the pressure. He's not afraid of the intensity of that situation. He loves it. He uses it as fuel. You don't find players that use that to become better all the time. Mahomes is one of those guys, right? He's one of those guys that when it comes down to it, he gets better. Lamar Jackson is one of those guys. You saw it last night. When they needed it, I mean, he walked them down that field and scored with no problem. You know what I mean? Like, there are players that have that ability in big moments, in big games, to fight and win. Cam Ward does that. Now, I do want to throw it in there. The opposition is far worse, right? Like, he's going up against far worse teams than he will in the NFL, obviously. But his talent also is worse, right? Like, he doesn't have a Malik Neighbors right now, right? Like, he doesn't have some of the pieces. Like, this is a guy that they're going to give him the world. They're going to give him everything. They're going to give him a play caller and Brian Dable that can unlock an offense that half the playbook is torn out right now, dude. You know what I mean? Like, half our playbook is unused because we can't run these plays with Daniel Jones and we can't run these plays with our offensive line struggling. So that's just the reality of the situation. You get Cam Ward in there, you fix the offensive line, you get another receiver, you have Malik Neighbors, you got Tyrone Tracy, and you cook. You get to work. The question is, are you going to have to compromise 2026, which is going to be a really strong draft class, Anthony, really strong? Are you going to have to compromise that season or that draft in the first round? Or are you going to lose this game and you're going to get Cam Ward for free, for just being a bad football team? That is what's going to define the Giants' future in the end, most likely. And that 2026 draft, and if they don't have that first round pick, it is going to hurt us. Like, don't get it twisted. If the Giants have their draft capital for the next couple of years and the money to go with having a rookie quarterback, we're looking at a turnaround pretty fast. But the Giants managed to do just enough to kill themselves. And it's been the same trend for, 10 years, Anthony? Now, they do just enough to hurt themselves. Even though they're terrible, even though they're bad, they keep us in purgatory. So, for the sake of the Giants, I don't root for losing. I don't want to lose. But for long-term prospects and long-term success, it is in the best interest of the Giants to lose the rest of their games this season so we can be successful in the future. Now, it's just going to have to come down to dumb luck, right? Dumb luck that we end up losing to bad football teams like the Saints and like the Panthers. We just have to luck into losing, basically, because they're going to try to win. They just have to not win if we want to be a successful team in the future. Because without that quarterback, you're kind of in dead water, and I think that we can all kind of acknowledge that.
I think we can. And the last point that I want to bring up here, Alex, and I think this is a really important point. You obviously mentioned the draft order. Giants lose this game. Their ability to draft a top quarterback is much easier. This is a very underrated piece of information that I haven't seen enough people highlight, and it's strength of schedule. So if you're looking at the draft order right now, Alex, if you go over to Tankathon, you're going to look at the Giants' strength of schedule being .530. That is the highest strength of schedule out of all 7 of the 2-7 teams. What does that mean for the Giants? Every single team with the same record as them has the tiebreaker over them. The Giants, the only way that they can get the number 1 pick in this year's draft, Alex, is to win less games. They cannot win the same amount of games as another team because they have a higher strength of schedule, so the other team will get the first overall pick. The only way that the New York Giants could pick number 1 is to have more losses than every other team in the league. And honestly, that's not entirely likely. The Giants are probably going to pick up more wins this season than the New Orleans Saints, and probably than the Panthers, and probably than the Browns, and maybe a couple other teams, because there are some really bad teams out there. And as bad as the Giants are, I don't believe they're that bad. I think the Giants have proven that they can win games, they can be competitive in games, and down the stretch of the season, they probably are going to win a few games, but that's going to put us back in the position that you just mentioned where we're going to beat ourselves. We're going to win meaningless games, and we're going to push ourselves out of draft position. But again, I do think that's important to highlight, Alex. Strength of schedule. Even if you want to look at the 2-6 teams, the teams that have as many wins but less losses because of bye week, those teams, the Giants have the strength of schedule higher than all of those teams as well. So of the 10 teams in the NFL with the worst record, or with the worst records, the Giants have the highest strength of schedule, meaning that if those 10 teams picked or had the same exact record, the Giants would be picking 10th. So the Giants have a lot standing in front of them in terms of trying to get a quarterback. Strength of schedule is going to become a major talking point once we get later into the season, and it's going to be something that could sink the Giants because they might finish, if they finish 2-15, Alex, but so did New England and so did Jacksonville, the Giants are picking 3rd. So you got to keep that in mind. It's going to be very, very difficult for the Giants to actually move up the draft order unless they lose games. So I know a lot of Giants fans will say, oh, there's tiebreakers, there's this, there's that. Really, the only way that the Giants are going to pick higher than any other team is to lose more games. So it's going to be a daunting road ahead. It's going to be an ugly season, I believe. But I don't know, Alex. Is this game tomorrow? Giants fans feel like this is an easy win. It's the Panthers. The Panthers aren't that good. Panthers are technically hot right now. They just beat up on a division rival in the New Orleans Saints, and I understand the Saints are atrocious, but the Panthers did win that game. Bryce Young is playing with a lot more confidence. He's playing better football, and the Panthers average more points per game than the Giants, which is something that you brought up to me earlier today when we were having conversations, Alex. Is this a winnable game? Is this really a shoo-in for the Giants, the way people are making it seem? 6.5-point underdogs or whatever? I'm not so sure. So wherever you guys stand, whichever side of the fence you're on, whether you want the Giants to win games because you want Brian Daboll to keep his job at the end of the year, or if you want the Giants to lose because you think getting the higher draft pick is paramount, whatever you want, tomorrow's game, or Sunday's game rather, absolutely a difficult one for the Giants, and that's going to be the case for every single game this season. The Giants do not have a single winnable and easy game left on the schedule. They are going to have to grind and fight for every single one, so just keep that in mind. The odds of landing that high draft pick, very high. Again, a few challenges standing in the way, but the Giants are that bad of a football team. They have the worst ranked offense in the NFL scoring-wise. They average 15.4 points per game, dead last. That pisses me off like I can't even explain to you, Alex. The fact that this offensive mastermind guru, Brian Daboll, can't muster up more than 15.5 points per game. Unreal, inexcusable, but it's probably what's going to land the Giants a very high draft pick and get them a quarterback who can score those points at a higher rate per game. So we'll see how it goes, but I keep saying tomorrow's game. Sunday's game is going to be a very interesting one, and one that we might look back on months from now as a pivotal moment in the New York Giants season and for their future.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a big one for us. And listen, people, I don't understand this concept where the Giants are like significantly better than the Panthers and negative -6.5 spread. The Giants are the Panthers. Like, they both suck. They're both two of the worst teams in football. Why the Giants are such favorites in this is beyond me. Now, they may win by that much, but I certainly am not going to sit here and act like this team is better than the Panthers, because they have not proven to be. They don't have Darius Slayton in this one, so they're going to have to lean on Neighbors. I mean, I imagine he has a really big game. But listen, like the Bryce Young looks like he's playing with more confidence. They benched him. He's back. He looked good last week. The Giants defense is very vulnerable. They traded Deontay Johnson. They still don't have Adam Thielen, I don't think. Like, they're thin. Like, Xavier Legette, that's your boy, Anthony. He's going to have a big game. For them, he's going to be their primary target. They're going to rely on the running game. Hubbard is in the middle of a really, really, really good solid season, and he just got extended too. So, Panthers doing stupid stuff, like extending multiple running backs, Miles Sanders, and then they drafted Jonathan Brooks on top of that. Like, the Panthers are a horrible, horrible team. You could argue worse than the Giants, but this is not going to be a shootout, and it's not going to be an exciting one. It's going to be like, this is the toilet bowl. You know what I mean? This is the worst. This is as bad as it gets. I feel bad for Germany to have to actually host this garbage of a product. But when all is said and done, the loser of this game ends up winning in the end. That's the ultimate truth. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's just the way it is. Like, that's just the truth. And I try to be as honest as I can on this podcast, and that's really, what this episode was all about, is, kind of suggesting that this game has massive implications on the Giants' future. Whether you want to believe it or not, there's 8 more games left in the season after, but really 7 because of the bye week for the Giants. But, when all is said and done, my friends, we lost out on a quarterback last year because we beat the Commanders and the Patriots. Those are the 2 teams that ended up with the star quarterbacks in the draft. And the Giants are facing the same exact situation for a second straight year. Are they going to come out on the right side or the wrong side of their long-term success story? We will find out on Sunday morning. But Anthony, I'll let you, kick us off here and finish off the episode, hopefully on a brighter note.
Yeah, on a brighter note, the last thing that I want to say is that I'm in no way advocating for tanking. I'm not saying that the Giants should purposely lose games. I think that ruins the integrity of the sport. I think the Giants should try and win. I think it's important. These guys do get paid to win. That's how their success is measured when they make decisions on firings and cuts and all that stuff. So I'm not rooting for losses. I'm just watching the games as they go. Like, I'm numb to it. If they lose, cool. Helps our draft pick. If they win, okay. People are saving their jobs, and I'm happy about that. So I'm just here to watch, man. Whatever happens, happens. This Giants team is not making the playoffs. The future is toast for or at least the outlook for the season. We'll just see how it goes, and of course, we'll have our reactions. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be celebrating losses. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be celebrating wins necessarily. I probably will be, but really, the only thing that I know for certain is that our angry, F-word, cursing-filled rants, those are going to be coming whenever we lose games, because I already know that the Giants are just going to find the most stupid, ridiculous ways to lose these games. So whether or not we want them to lose and whether or not we're happy about the fact that we're moving up the draft position, I can just guarantee you that somehow, some way, the Giants are going to lose in such an embarrassing fashion that our angry and passionate rants are going to be coming and flowing all throughout the season. So stay tuned for all that. That should be fun. And we'll have the game preview tomorrow talking about Giants versus Panthers, probably talking a little bit more about the draft positioning, but probably more so just talking about the matchup between the Giants and Panthers. Daniel Jones versus Bryce Young, as I mentioned, the quarterback matchup of the century. Can't wait to watch that. What a treat at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time over here in America. Can't wait. So of course, we'll catch you on the next one. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. Listen on Apple or Spotify. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Say what's up to Tibosaurus Rex. He hasn't been here for a while, but he missed you guys, and I know that you guys miss him. But without further ado, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and
perfect.